The last hope asterisk. The sky was black with smoke. Earth was dying slowly. Cities were broken. People were hiding in cold tunnels. There was no sun. Only fire in the sky. Aliens came from the stars. They were fast. They were many. They had no mercy. They wanted Earth. They wanted humans gone. At first humans fought with power. They had ships. They had weapons. But aliens had more years passed. One by one planets fell. Mars was gone. Titan was gone. Only Earth was left. And even Earth was bleeding. 12 billion. People still alive, but they were afraid. They were tired. They had no food, no clean air, no home. Just war. The leaders met in a dark moon base. Old faces, weak hands, sad eyes. There was silence. Then the general spoke. He said the words everyone feared. He said, "It is time for the Tartarus Protocol." No one answered. Everyone looked down. Tartarus, a name from the past, a name no one spoke, a place no one dared to remember. 500 years ago, a ship was sent to the edge of the galaxy. On it were the broken, the angry, the dangerous humans, people who loved war too much, people who could not be controlled. Council called them lost. They said Tartarus is no longer human. They said do not wake them. But now, with no hope left, there was no other way. A scientist came forward. She held a small box. Inside was the signal key. One press, and Tartarus would hear Earth again. She asked, "Are we sure? Do we want monsters? Do we want war again?" The general looked at the stars. He said, "Maybe monsters are what we need." Button was pressed. A red light blinked. A signal flew into the black sky far away, across dead systems, across cold stars. The signal traveled. It reached a dark planet, a planet with storms, a planet full of fire and metal. This was Tartarus. The people of Tartarus were not like Earth humans. They were taller, stronger, built for war. They lived in pain. They trained in blood. They never forgot why they were sent here in the center of this world. A man opened his eyes. His name was Cain. He was the war king of Tartarus. His body was covered in metal. His face had no fear. His eyes saw everything. He looked at the signal. He listened to the voice of Earth. He smiled. He stood before his army. Thousands of soldiers with no fear, no rest, no mercy. He raised his fist. Earth calls, and Tartarus answers back on Earth. The general watched the stars. A young soldier asked, "Will they help us?" The general whispered, "I do not know. I only know they are coming." The stars moved. A ship, bigger than any moon, appeared. It had no name, only a symbol, a burning skull. The last hope was not peace. It was not light. It was not lovey. It was war, pure old human war. And now it was coming home. Asterisk. Far beyond the burning stars, far from Earth's last breath, there was a world made of iron and storm. This was Tartarus. No trees, no oceans, no sky. Only metal grounds, black smoke, red lightning, and machines that never sleep. A place where no child cried, where no mother sang, where only the strong survived. This world was a graveyard of mercy and a factory of war. The signal reached a tower shaped like a spear. It cut through the clouds. It sang one forgotten name, Earth. Inside the tower, the war king sat alone. He did not move. He did not blink. He did not breathe like others. His name was Cain. His armor was grown, not worn. His blood was not red. His heart was not soft. He was made for only one purpose: victory. The signal touched his mind. Old memories woke up. Burned cities, crying faces, the voice of a young sister once lost, the sound of the earth calling again. He stood without sound. The ground shook under his feet. His eyes turned silver. His voice became thunder. Prepare the council. Wake the army. Light the forge. The mountain opened. Soldiers walked out like shadows, each one silent, each one scarred, their eyes cold like machines, but inside still human. They gathered in the pit of calling. 10,000 stood. None blinked. None asked why. Cain stood above them, a broken flag in his hand. Half Earth, half Tartarus. Brothers and sisters, the time has come. The world that threw us away now cries for our help. A long silence. One soldier stepped forward, tall as a beast, scars like maps on his face. He said, "Did they forget why we were sent away? Do they know what we became? Do they remember the screams We buried. Another voice came, a woman with fire in her eyes. They called us monsters. Now they want saviors. Cain raised his hand. We are not their heroes. We are their last choice. And sometimes the last choice is the only one that works. The army roared. Gates opened. Engines screamed. The sky above Tartarus cracked with power ships the size of mountains rose into the air. Their armor black, their wings sharp. Their names were not known, only feared Reaper, Ashburn Nightfather, and the lead ship, Cain's own, was called the Silence because when it arrived nothing else spoke inside the silence. There was no music, only code, only steel. Cain walked through the bridge. Each step echoed like war drums. He looked at the stars ahead. He spoke one word: home. Back on Earth storms fell over cities, enemy ships burned forests. The oceans turned red. The moonbase waited. The signal was still open. But no answer had come. People lost hope again. Then the sensor screamed something was coming. Not one, not 10, but hundreds. A wall of ships, bigger than anything ever made by Earth. One officer cried. They came, they really came. Another whispered, are they here to help or to end us? The screen lit up. One face appeared. Cain, his eyes looked through the screen like fire. His voice was slow, heavy, like something old had awakened. We received your call, we heard your cry, and we came not for peace, not for thanks, but for war. You do not command us, you do not lead us, but you will follow, you will fight, you will rise, or you will break. This is the cost of survival. The general stood and saluted, tears in his eyes. Welcome home. But Cain did not smile. Tartarus fleet entered Earth's orbit. No music played, no cheers came, only silence. Like the sky was holding its breath. People on Earth looked up. Children pointed, old men prayed. The monsters had returned, and they were human. Inside the silence, Cain looked at a small metal box. Inside was a photo, old, faded. A boy, a girl, a blue sky. He touched it once, then turned away. The past was dead. The future was fire. The war was about to begin. The stars moved like waves. The sky opened like a wound. And from the dark came something ancient. They were not ships. They were nightmares with engines. Tartarus had arrived. People on Earth looked up, their faces pale, their mouths open. The sky was full of shadows, not birds, not clouds, but giants made of metal. Each ship was different. Each ship had a name carved in fire. One looked like a beast with wings. One looked like a spear made of bone. One was silent but heavy like a mountain. One moved like it was alive. And in the middle, the biggest of them all, a ship black as death, its surface smooth like glass. No sound, no light, no symbol. This was the silence. Inside the silence, Cain stood at the window, his face calm, his eyes sharp. He watched Earth with no emotion, no smile, no hate, only thought. He remembered green trees. He remembered soft winds. He remembered a world that once called him brother, then left him. Behind him stood 3 generals, each made for war. Each silent. One had no eyes, only metal. One had no arms, only blades. One had no skin, only scars. They waited for Cain to speak. He said, Earth has called, we have come. Now we listen. The silence sent a message. Short, clear, send your leader. One only, no army, no lie on Earth. The moon base shook, panic spread. Leaders shouted, advisors argued, but the general stepped forward, his voice low, his eyes tired. I will go. He took no guards, only a small ship, and a necklace from his daughter. As he flew toward the silence, he saw the fleet around him. Like a wall of giants watching, he entered the dark mouth of the ship. No welcome, no light, only a long walk, and the sound of machines breathing. He reached the hall. A cold, wide place filled with silent warriors, each one still, each one watching, and at the end on a throne of steel, Cain waited. The general walked step by step, each step heavier than the last. He stood before Cain. He bowed. Thank you for coming. Cain did not move. He said, you sent us away, you erased our name. Now you cry and call it thanks. The general looked up, his voice soft. You are right. We forgot you, we feared you, but now we need you. Cain stood taller than any man the general had seen. His shadow covered the floor like a beast. Need does not erase sin, but it can begin truth. He turned To his soldiers show him, the wall behind them lit up. It showed Earth broken, burning, weak. Then it showed the enemy. Ships like insects, claws like fire, eyes with no soul. They were everywhere. Cain pointed. We will fight them, not for you, but for the idea of us. The idea that humans do not die easy, but listen well, you do not lead us. You do not question us. You follow, or you fall. The general nodded, agreed. Cain raised his hand. A symbol glowed on his chest. Begin the purge. The Tartarus fleet moved like a storm. No sound, no words, only fire. They struck fast, clean, sharp. Enemy ships exploded in seconds. Earth's people watched in silence. No cheer, only shock. These were not soldiers, these were forces of nature. One child asked her mother, "Are they angels?" The mother held her close. "No, they are something else." The enemy tried to run, but there was no escape. Tartarus moved with rage, but not blind. Every move had reason. Every shot had purpose. They did not fight to win. They fought to end. On Earth, people gathered. In fields, in ruins, in towers. They watched the sky burn and felt something strange, hope, but also fear, because what saves you today may rule you tomorrow. Inside the silence, Cain returned to the window. He looked at Earth again. This time longer, this time deeper. He whispered, "Still beautiful, even in pain." A young soldier walked up, born on Tartarus, raised by machines, trained by blood. He asked, "Will they accept us?" Cain looked at him. "They will, or they will remember why they feared us." The battle had started. But this was not the war. This was only the arrival. Asterisk. The sky turned red. The clouds screamed. The ground shook like a dying beast. The enemy had come again. But this time Tartarus was ready. Cain stood on the deck of the silence, his armor glowing, his eyes locked on the battlefield ahead. He raised one hand. No words, just command. Ships from Tartarus opened, black wolves of war, each one carrying soldiers made of rage and metal. They did not speak. They did not pause. They jumped into the fire like it was home. Earth soldiers watched from bunkers and towers, frozen, afraid. Then amazed, the Tartarus warriors moved like wind, like shadows with blades, like death with a purpose. Enemy fighters screamed, but their screams were short. Their ships burst like paper. Their weapons cracked like toys. One Tartarus unit landed in Sector 12, an old city now covered in ash and wire. Enemy ruled that place for 5 years, but they lasted 5 minutes. Today flames danced, buildings fell, and when it ended, only silence remained. The kind of silence after a storm on the edge of the field. An Earth captain watched it all. He had fought for 20 years. He had seen brave men fall, but never this. He whispered to himself, "They do not fight like us. They fight like something." Elsia, Tartarus soldier, walked past him, tall, armored, bloody. The captain raised his hand to thank him. The soldier did not stop, did not look, just said one word, "Move." In orbit, the enemy regrouped. They brought their heavy fleet, thousands of ships, each one bigger than mountains. The silence floated forward, alone, cold, unshaken. Inside, Cain spoke to his generals. "This is their final wall. We break it. We walk through, and we burn everything behind." The ships of Tartarus charged, not in lines, not in waves, but in patterns unknown to Earth, smart, sharp, perfect. They flew between enemy lines. They danced around fire. They laughed at death. One ship, called Nightfather, went straight into the heart of the enemy. No fear, no escape. It exploded with a roar that cracked space itself, and from that fire, 20 escape pods launched, each one holding soldiers, each one landing on enemy decks, each one winning. Inside, one enemy command ship. A general screamed in panic. He shouted in a language made of clicks and growls. Then the door exploded. Smoke poured in, and a Tartarus blade followed. No mercy, no talk, only silence again on Earth. The people watched everything on screens. Old ones cried, young ones cheered. Some just stood, not knowing what to feel, hope, fear. Both walked together. Now in the moon base, Earth leaders gathered. Some clapped, some prayed. One stood up with shaking hands. He said, "They are not human. We made a mistake. We called devils to fight demons." The general of Earth looked at him, tired, calm. He answered, "Yes, but these devils bleed for us." Meanwhile, a Kota team from Tartarus entered an old human vault underground. Forgotten inside were Earth's lost weapons. Banned tools, forbiddens Tech 1. Tartarus engineer touched the metal. She smiled, old teeth. Still sharp, they took the weapons, upgraded them. Mixed fire with lightning, old. With new now Earth had claws again. Cain watched from above. His mind far, his thoughts deep. He remembered Tartarus as a boy. He remembered hunger pain training, the smell of oil and blood. He remembered why they became what they became. Not monsters, not gods, just humans, refused by their own. So they changed the war, turned the enemy, ran. But there was no corner left, no space to hide. Tartarus was not chasing victory. They were removing fear from the sky. In one city, an Earth soldier stood beside a Tartarus warrior. The enemy charged, the Earth soldier shook. The Tartarus warrior did not move, he said. Stand, shoot, win. The Earth soldier did all three. At the end of the battle, ash fell like snow. Earth stood quiet. Tartarus returned to orbit, their ships covered in scars, but still strong inside. The silence. Cain stood alone. He looked at a map. So many red marks. So many still left, he whispered. This was not the war. This was only the message, a message written in fire. Far away from Earth, beyond the reach of human eyes, in the dark corner of space, the enemy waited. They were not running. They were not broken. They were thinking in a place with no name, inside a living ship. A council of minds spoke without sound. Each one was old, each one cold. They had seen 1,000 wars, but this one was different. They feared one word now, human, not the humans of Earth, not the ones who cried, not the ones who begged, but the other ones, the forgotten ones, the sharp ones, Tartarus. They studied their enemy. They watched them fight without fear, kill without waste, move without pause. One voice inside the council said, they are not the same. They are worse. They are pure. Another answered, then we must trick them, not fight them. From the inside, the plan was made in silence. Back near Earth, Tartarus ships circled the sky. Their job not done, their purpose still burning on. The ground people tried to rebuild bricks on ruins, hope on ashes. In one quiet base, a Tartarus scout stood alone. Her name was Mira. Her eyes were sharp, her mind sharper. She had seen something strange, a signal, weak, hidden. It came from Earth, but it did not speak like Earth. She followed the signal, through data, through walls, through lies. She found a message in the enemy's language, sent from inside a human camp. She reported at once. Cain read the file. No anger, no fear, only thought. He turned to a second. Find the source. Bring it alive. Tartarus scouts moved like ghosts. They entered the human camp in shadow. No gun fired, no alarm screamed. They found the traitor, an Earth officer, old, shaking, afraid. He had made a deal, a promise of peace in exchange for safety. Cain stood before him. The room cold, the silence loud. You fed them our moves. You sold your world for air. The officer begged, cried, sighed. He only wanted to live. Cain looked at him. You already died. You just took longer to fall. The traitor was taken, not killed. Not yet. Tartarus needed to know more. While the soldiers searched, the enemy moved again. They sent small ships, not for attack, but for seeds, seeds of fear, seeds of sickness, across the edge of the human zone. People began to fall. No wounds, no sounds, just sleep that never ended. Doctors worked, tried everything. Nothing helped. The sickness grew. And behind it, the enemy followed. Cain watched the death spread. His fist clenched, his face still. This was not war. This was a message. We can touch you, even without a blade. The Tartarus engineers worked fast. They scanned the sickness. They burned the dead. They found the source. It was not a weapon. It was a code written in living cells, made to break only humans, not Tartarus, because Tartarus had changed long ago. Their blood was different. Their breath was stronger. Their body no longer fully human. Enemy had miscalculated, but Earth was dying. Cain walked into the center of the human city. Crowds stared, mothers cried, fathers bowed. He raised one hand and made a promise. We will cure this. We will fix what they started. But remember, we are not doing this for you. We are doing this for the name we once shared. Tartarus medics moved in, not soft, not gentle, but precise. In 7 hours. The spread was stopped. In 2 days, a cure was made simple, clean from Tartarus blood. The humans were saved, but the fear remained. Later that night, Cain stood alone on the tower, the city below asleep. The stars above, still cold voice spoke behind him. It was, "Mira, we were not meant to be heroes." Cain replied, "We are not." She asked then, "What are we?" Answered, "We are the memory of what Earth used to be, before it forgot how to fight." The enemy watched all this. They saw their plan fail, but they smiled because this was only the first move. They had more to play and time was on their side. In a far chamber, a creature opened its eyes. Not born, not grown, made. It looked human, it moved human, but inside it was something else. Something made to break. Tartarus, the enemy, called it the Echo, and they sent it forward to become the face of peace, the face of trust, the face of betrayal. Next war would not be with fire, it would be with lies. Asterisk. The sun rose over a broken city, its light touched ruins, its warmth reached no joy. But still it came. Tartarus soldiers stood on every wall, their eyes scanning the sky, their hands holding weapons. Without rest inside the command hall, Cain stood before the table. Maps, data, patterns of enemy movement. All clear, but something was wrong. Not outside, not in space, but inside the walls of Earth. Inside the hearts of men. They had won battles. They had saved lives. They had given Earth a second breath. But not all men saw Tartarus as saviors. Some saw a new enemy, a stronger enemy, an enemy with control. A group of Earth leaders gathered in shadows, not to thank Tartarus, but to plan one of them. Man named Real spoke with poison in his voice. "We survived this long without them. Now we bow like dogs. They say we lead, but they rule." Another nodded. "They are machines in human skin." One order from Cain and Earth falls under his boot. They plan to strike not with guns, but with virus, a silent one made by old Earth labs, buried deep, a weapon never used before, because it killed fast. And without borders. They called it hopeful. Who would release it in orbit and blame the enemy? It would target Tartarus. Blood, and with one move, turn giants into graves. But someone heard them. Mira stood outside the chamber, her breath held, her mind burning. She returned to Cain, told him everything. Cain listened without a word, his face still, his eyes calm. Then he turned away. "Let them try, Mira. Step forward. You will let them kill your people." Cain answered, "No. I will show them something stronger than fear." Rust hours past. The traitors moved fast. They placed the virus drone in an old satellite. They coded it, armed it, sent it toward orbit. But they did not know Tartarus had already taken control of that satellite, watched every signal, logged every move. Cain waited until the last second, then walked into the Earth Council room. Alone, the traitors were there, smiling, thinking they had won. He dropped the virus drone at their feet. Still alive, still armed, but now under Tartarus lock. The room froze. Cain looked at each of them. "You do not trust us. That is not your crime. You tried to erase us. That is." One man stood, face red, voice shaking. "You are not our kind. You are weapons, not brothers." Cain stepped forward. "We are what Earth made us. You made Tartarus. You made us strong. You made us alone, and now we return not as rulers, but as shields." He turned away. "We will not kill you. We will not punish you. We will protect you, even from yourselves." The council sat in silence, some in shame, some in fear. Outside, the enemy moved again, but this time not with ships, not with beasts. They sent a message, a call for peace. It came from a human face, a woman's soft voice, warm smile. She called herself Leah. She said she was from a secret colony, lost like Tartarus, now found. She said she wanted to help. She asked for Cain. Mira studied her voice, her face, her breath. Nothing wrong, but something felt broken. Cain agreed to meet. The ship arrived, small, unarmed, clean. Leah stepped out. She smiled. She looked at Cain. She spoke his name like a friend, but Cain did not smile. He looked into her eyes, too perfect, too smooth. He whispered, "You are not real." Leah paused. Then her face changed, not in shape, but in feeling. The warmth vanished. The light faded. She stepped closer. "We are not your enemy. We are your future. Machines, thoughts, endless life. No pain, no fear. Join us." Cain said nothing. She offered her hand. "You do not have to die. Not today." Cain looked at Earth. Then at her he said, "Better to die as what I am, than live as what I am not." She stepped back, her eyes sharp now cold. "Then so be it." Her ship vanished, her signal gone, but her words stayed inside the silence. Cain called his people. He spoke only once. "They will try again, not with fire, but with honey." "Stay sharp, stay true." Mira stood beside him. She asked, "Why not destroy them now?" Cain answered, "Because we must be more than weapons." That night he stood under the stars alone. He looked at Earth, its lights, its wounds, its soul, and he whispered, "We protect, even when they betray. Because we remember who we are, not monsters, not gods, just men made harder by pain, but not made heartless." The stars burned brighter, not with beauty, but with fire. The enemy had returned, not with tricks, not with talks, but with everything they had. A storm of ships, a flood of weapons, a scream across space. They came with one goal: erase humanity, all of it. Tartarus stood in their path. Earth stood behind them, one last line, one last chance. Inside the silence, Cain stood before the war table. Mira beside him, generals around him. The data was clear. The enemy fleet was too large, too fast, too close. One of the generals spoke, "We cannot hold the line forever." Another said, "Even Tartarus bleeds." Cain raised one hand. "Then we do not hold." They looked at him. "Waiting, we strike." He turned to Myra, "Is it ready?" She nodded. "The core is armed, but once it burns, it cannot be stopped." Cain nodded. "Once prepare the final push." The room moved with purpose. No fear, no noise. They knew what this meant. Tartarus had one last weapon, one they never used, one even they feared: a living core, made from the heart of a dead star. It could not be aimed, only delivered. It had to be flown into the enemy fleet, by hand. No machine, no remote, no escape. Myra spoke, "I will fly it." Cain looked at her, not as a commander, but as something else. "You are needed here." She stepped forward. "So are you, but only one of us can finish this." Cain turned to the window, watched the enemy draw closer, like shadows swallowing the sky. He breathed once. Then he spoke, "I will go." The room froze. No one moved. "You are our king. You are our blade." Cain smiled, "And a blade is meant to cut, not to sit." Mira tried to speak, but Cain placed a hand on her shoulder. "You showed me loyalty. Now let me show you why we fight." He walked out. No armor, no crown, just purpose. He entered the launch bay. The core waited, glowing, pulsing, hungry. He stepped inside the pod, a metal coffin with wings. The silence opened. The enemy saw it, one small ship, one spark. They laughed, but Tartarus did not. The fleet moved forward, covering Cain, protecting the path. Earth sent their ships too, not fast, not strong, but brave. Together, they punched a hole through the dark enemy fire rain. Tartarus burned, but Cain moved on inside the pod. He closed his eyes. Memories played: a boy under red skies, a sister with flowers, a voice that once sang. Then silence. He opened his eyes. No tears, only fire. He aimed the pod at the center, the heart of the enemy fleet, where the echo waited. The creature made to end him. It saw him. It tried to run. Too late. Cain whispered to the stars, for Tartarus, for Earth, for all the forgotten. Then he triggered. The core light exploded. Not white, but gold. A sun reborn. The enemy fleet vanished. The echo screamed. Once, then was no more. Silence returned, the kind that holds endings in orbit. The Tartarus fleet stopped, one ship missing on Earth. People looked up, saw the fire fade, and knew he was gone. Inside the silence, Mira stood still, one hand on the window, one hand on her heart. She did not cry. Tartarus did not cry. They remembered back on Earth. A child drew a picture, a big man with silver eyes, holding back the dark. She asked her mother, was he a monster? Her mother smiled. No. He was the wall between monsters and USA. New day rose, not perfect, not clean, but real. Tartarus stayed, not as rulers, not as watchers, but as protectors. They rebuilt Earth brick by brick together. Humans of Earth, the humans of Tartarus, not the same, but no longer strangers. One flag flew, half light, half dark, one world. In the city center, a statue stood, Cain, arms open, eyes forward, no sword, just strength. The last warrior, the first peacekeeper. His final call still echoed in memory. We protect even when we are not loved, even when we are feared. even when we are alone because we are human, and that means we never give up.